Have you ever heard someone say, just drink red wine and you'll live longer? It's catchy, but what if there's more to it? What if there's a molecule in that red wine that scientists believe might slow aging? That compound is called resveratrol, and it's been made famous by longevity experts like Harvard's David Sinclair. I believe it's time to cut through the hype, look at what the research really says, and find out if this so-called anti-aging pill is truly magic or just another myth. Alright, let's get started without wasting any more time. So, what exactly is resveratrol? It's a natural compound found in the skin of grapes, in certain berries, peanuts, and a few plants. It first got attention when researchers found it might mimic the effects of calorie restriction, which is one of the few proven ways to extend lifespan in animals. In some lab studies, mice given resveratrol showed signs of slower aging and better cellular health. On paper, it looked like a miracle. Now, one of the biggest names attached to resveratrol is Dr. David Sinclair from Harvard Medical School. He's one of the leading voices in longevity research, and he's pretty open about his personal interest in slowing the aging process. In interviews and his book, he often mentions taking resveratrol and other compounds like NMN as part of his own daily routine. I actually find that fascinating because Sinclair doesn't just talk about living longer, he's trying to prove it scientifically. He and his team have focused heavily on what are called sirtuins. These are genes that help regulate things like DNA repair, stress response, and energy use in cells. Resveratrol, according to early research, might activate one of these genes known as SIRT1. When you activate sirtuins, the idea is that your cells stay healthier and more resilient for longer. In theory, that could mean slower aging. But here's the thing. While that sounds amazing, I believe it's really important to separate the promise from the proof. Most of these exciting results come from lab animals or cell cultures, not from long-term studies on humans. What works in mice or worms doesn't always translate to us. Let's talk about the reality for a moment. In one well-known study, mice fed a high-fat diet lived healthier and longer when given resveratrol. Their cells showed changes similar to what happens with calorie restriction, but when researchers tried similar approaches in humans, the results weren't nearly as impressive. In fact, a study published in 2014 by Harvard Health found that people who naturally had higher levels of resveratrol in their diets didn't live longer or have fewer diseases than those who didn't. That's a huge gap between the hype and the real-world results. Another major problem is absorption. When you swallow a resveratrol capsule, only a small fraction actually reaches your bloodstream because your body breaks it down quickly. So even if you take what looks like a big dose, your body might not be getting enough to make a real difference. That's one reason why scientists are still experimenting with better delivery methods and alternative compounds. Now, David Sinclair himself has said he takes about 1 gram of resveratrol each morning with yogurt because it dissolves better in fat. He's clear that this is part of his personal regimen, not a prescription for everyone. But I think that shows how even experts treat this area as experimental. There isn't a universal dosage that's proven safe or effective for everyone. Then there's the question of whether resveratrol actually activates those longevity genes the way it was originally claimed. Some follow-up studies suggested that the original lab tests may have been flawed. In simple terms, what scientists thought resveratrol was doing to those genes might not be exactly how it works. That doesn't mean it's useless, but it does mean we still don't fully understand its mechanism in the human body. Now, when people call resveratrol a scam, I get where they're coming from. The supplement industry loves buzzwords like anti-aging and youth pill. Companies grab onto early-stage research, slap it on a label, and start selling bottles online. You'll see marketing claims about reversing aging, boosting mitochondria, even regenerating your DNA. And honestly, I think that's where people get misled. Resveratrol might have interesting biological effects, but no human study has ever shown it can reverse aging or extend lifespan in people. That said, I don't think resveratrol is total nonsense either. Some human studies have found small but measurable benefits. For example, a few trials show it might help with insulin sensitivity, blood flow, or inflammation markers, especially in older adults or people with metabolic issues. So it's not magic, but it's not completely worthless either. I'd say it's a compound with potential, but still under review. Here's another thing worth knowing. Because resveratrol is poorly absorbed, researchers started looking at similar molecules that might work better, like pterostilbene. It's found in blueberries and seems to have higher bioavailability. Some people even prefer that one now. I find it interesting how this field keeps evolving, and it reminds me that we're still in the early days of truly understanding these compounds. If you're someone who's tempted to try resveratrol, resveratrol? Here's my honest opinion. It's probably safe for most people in moderate doses, but you shouldn't expect miracles. Talk to your doctor first, especially if you're on medications like blood thinners, because resveratrol can slightly affect how your blood clots. And if you decide to try it, make sure you're getting it from a trusted brand that tests for purity. Supplements are not tightly regulated, so quality matters a lot. I personally believe resveratrol could be a helpful addition if your overall lifestyle is already solid, meaning you're eating well, exercising, sleeping enough, and managing stress. Those are still the true foundations of longevity. Resveratrol, if anything, is more like icing on the cake. It might support your body at a cellular level, but it can't replace the fundamentals. Now here's something else that often gets overlooked. When scientists study why people age well, the focus usually isn't on one molecule or one supplement. It's about entire systems: your metabolism, your mitochondria, your epigenetics, your immune health. Resveratrol targets one small piece of that puzzle. So when you hear people promising dramatic results, take it with a grain of salt. No pill is going to replace a balanced life. And I think it's worth mentioning that even David Sinclair, despite all his research, doesn't claim he's found the cure to aging. He talks about possibilities, not certainties. He's open that we're still learning and that the science will keep changing as more data comes in. That's a healthy mindset to have, and I think we can all learn from that approach. Stay curious, stay open-minded, but don't fall for the hype. So where does that leave us? In my view, resveratrol is an interesting compound that's been studied for over 2 decades. It may help support healthy aging by improving how your cells respond to stress and inflammation. It could offer small benefits for your heart, metabolism, or brain, but there's no solid evidence it can extend your lifespan or reverse aging in humans. The marketing often exaggerates the science, and that's where people feel disappointed. If you ask me, the best anti-aging strategy is still a combination of science and lifestyle. Move your body every day. Eat real food with lots of plants and healthy fats. Get enough sleep and keep your stress in check. These things are proven to slow biological aging in ways that resveratrol can only dream of matching right now. Add resveratrol if you want to experiment, but don't rely on it as your main strategy. And honestly, I think it's exciting that we're even having these conversations. 100 years ago, we barely understood what caused aging. Now we're talking about gene pathways, cellular repair, and molecular compounds that could one day help us stay younger for longer. Resveratrol might not be the miracle, but it's part of a much bigger story that could change how we think about aging altogether. So if you're watching this and wondering what to do, my advice is simple. Be skeptical, but not cynical. Stay curious, but not gullible. Test things if you want, but remember, the basics always win. And who knows, maybe resveratrol won't be the final answer, but it might lead scientists to discover something even better down the road. There's also an amazing benefit of eating just 2 Brazilian nuts. I have made this detailed video explaining it. Watch this next.